You were telling me about the biochemical happenings in the body when somebody is lonely. Could you give us just like a nice simplified, I mean, simple, information so I can just get a sense of what's actually happening in my system when I'm lonely that causes me to be vulnerable?
Yeah. Well, I did a little post on Body Curious on that, the fact that in the 1830s, isolation of prisoners was banned because it was considered inhumane because of the effect it has on mental health, and this is well documented. When it comes to loneliness and isolation, the lack of physical touch, physically, usually we get a trigger of oxytocin, which is often called either the love hormone or the trust hormone. And it's misnamed slightly because it's actually, we get oxytocin from lots of other things, but not quite so much as when we come in contact with another human being and gain eye contact. And this is where the eye contact coupled with physical touching triggers sort of a boost of oxytocin, which makes us trusting. If we don't get that, then that oxytocin actually can sort of almost sabotage ourselves, and we end up getting, the effect is actually distrust. And so we end up distrusting our own thoughts, and we in essence get paranoid, and then we don't trust other human beings.
So you're saying if we don't have physical touch along with eye contact,
Yeah.
we don't produce the oxytocin, or
It's like everything else. Everybody wants a nice clean thing of saying, oh, oxytocin does this, dopamine does that. It appears it's the combination of dopamine, which we know is sort of the achievement, yay hormone, serotonin, which is the feel-good hormone, and oxytocin, which is often called trust hormone, whereas actually they all have the opposites. If you have too much dopamine, you can actually deteriorate memory. Too much serotonin, you can get pain. Too much oxytocin, we end up, whether it's too much or too little, but it's like a seesaw. The interconnection of all three, if they're not balanced right, we go from being a happy human, basically, to being a paranoid, distrusting human. And the very lack of physical touch and lack of eye contact, it would appear, generates this feeling of distrust and paranoia in the system.
whoa,
and is highly damaging to mental health. And there's lots of research has been done on isolation and loneliness, and it would appear also that the very nature of loneliness causes a genetic expression, this is now documented, that directly affects our ability to regulate antiviral immunity.
whoa. So I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just like, whoa, that's pretty full on.
That in itself triggers another part of the system. It upregulates something called norepinephrine, which is part of the fight-flight response. And if you're placed into an area of triggering the fight-flight-fear response, this also magnifies this genetic expression. So you get a double whammy.
Okay. So what can we do about this?
Well, it's to gain eye contact.
I was going to ask, on Zoom, we are getting eye contact.
We are. It's a little trickier, isn't it? If you think about it, in reality, I actually have to look at my camera.
Yeah. I'm looking at your face rather than the actual camera.
You can't see that I'm looking at you. There isn't actually the eye contact. And this is where some people have got, different cameras or things. So they're looking at the camera and you can see. This is, I don't know, it's got to be better than nothing, because communication also triggers oxytocin.
Yeah.
And dare to, even if it's, I've seen these people with, plastic sheets or whatever, it's like, give someone a hug.
Yeah.
Be a rebel, be an underground hugger.
So I think, it's it's quite full on. The information you've just shared about what happens when we don't have physical contact and when we don't have trust, it's quite full on.
And that's just information. That's not helpful. It's not a solution.
Well, this is it. And I'm thinking, shit, I actually feel a little bit, ooh, knowing this.
Whereas that's where the poem is, that it's the only way I could, like I said, it's, if it touched you, I'm using that term, is that actually things like art and music, things that are often they communicate in a different way, also triggers oxytocin. So quite often this is where
emotion,
laughter and art, coming under contact with, I don't know if you could like doing clay, do that, it's gaining that kinesthetic touch. And there is the advantage of having, say, a pet, a dog or a cat, where it's actually thought that even, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I used to take the mick out of people who used to say about hugging trees, is that actually coming into contact with any living being. And so therefore, with terms of food, if food is your thing, then create and make it from fresh living things, not living herbs.
Come back to the tree hugging, because at the moment this is something most people can do. And actually, I dread to say this, but I will hug a tree, and it's the most grounding, calming feeling. And from what you've just been saying about the things that we can do, even though we are getting a bit of eye contact here, kind of indirectly, it's just causing a rebalance of these, or we're experiencing emotions which triggers chemical reactions. So all those dopamines, oxytocin and serotonin, we're just getting a different array of these chemicals, which I guess is having the rebalancing effect in our system.
Yeah. It's this thing about the hugging of trees. I laugh, and yet historically there is stuff around this. In the old world, actually, I think the guardians of trees were called dryads. I think is reckoned to be living beings. It doesn't really matter. The fact is, this thinking is not new, and they may have used different terminology, and in this world of supposedly reasoning and of science and everything else, is that for thousands of years they went through various plagues far worse than what we're going through now, and yet somehow they got through it in a way, and they used anything that worked. So if it means that hugging a tree will stop you getting on the ledge and topping yourself, like, go hug a freaking tree, just for the sake of laughing at yourself, going, I cannot believe it. Nick and Austin suggested hugging a tree. These things, I thought were fairly sensible people, but they say go and hug a tree. It's like, you know what? I'm going to go and hug a tree, and I don't mind feeling like a prat doing it if it might trigger a bit of oxytocin, just even if I can laugh at myself. Because even if you can laugh at yourself, it's better than believing some of the nonsense that can go on in your heads. Yeah. Remember, your thoughts are not you.
Absolutely. And so I think what's really nice is there are things that people can do. Hugging a tree, and give it a go. See for yourself, guys. Listening to your poem, involving ourselves in some kind of art, something creative, perhaps something that stirs up emotion in us. I did a video last night. It's just Sarah sharing another way of looking at trust and what's going on a practical mind coaching side of things. Each and every person out there is so very different. Anybody who's watching this, you are completely different from the next person that's watching this. And it's about finding the way that connects with you, that resonates with you. Okay, so some of this, the hugging the tree might not suit you, but actually learning about the structure and the function of the mind might be key to allow you to get a bit of insight and change. So there are different tools, there are different ways, and there's going to be a hypnotherapy audio coming out with Austin's beautiful poem in it. So just finding the right things for you, because they're out there and it's so readily available. We can change.